This is the Rebound Rundown. I'm your host, Paul Fritchner. Your home for college basketball in the Cincinnati area and across the country every Monday through Friday during the season. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Great to welcome on Keegan Nickoson from Bearcat Journal, recurring guest here on the Rebound Rundown. I'm going to preview the Crosstown Shootout. Make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, you go down, you subscribe to this, leave a comment, like, all that good stuff. If you're listening to this in audio form, you subscribe wherever you're listening. Plenty more Crosstown Shootout. So today is the Cincinnati side. Tomorrow will be the Xavier side. Friday we'll wrap things up, maybe try to get an interview in there as well. But YouTube, audio platforms, all that good stuff here. And Keegan, great to have you on. As always, had you on before the season to preview Cincinnati. Now here we are about a month in. A lot's happened in the first month of the season because, you know, before we get into it with you, I just to set the stage here. I mean, when we talked before the season, this was a game that I think would have been disappointing for any Cincinnati fan to walk away from Cintas on Friday night and not be the winner, right? And this felt like a game that this was finally Cincinnati's year to have a clear edge going to Cintas, a place they haven't won since 2001. Now, all of a sudden, Cincinnati's lost to Eastern Michigan. The offense is looking terrible, if we're just calling it like it is, but the defense is one of the best defenses in the country. It's kind of the same thing, the same thread, the same storyline that we've been talking about for a while. Keegan, what's been your reaction to the last week, and can they fix it here going into Friday?
I don't know if they can fix it. I feel like when I'm watching the games, and especially when I'm watching Wes on the sideline, and he's an emotional, reactionary guy, so I'm not going to put too much stock into what it is, but sometimes it's just throwing his hands up and looking at his assistants like, why do we even practice? Like we try stuff in practice and then they just like don't do it. But the offense it's kind of either they make shots and look decent, or they have a bad shooting night and they look like one of the worst offenses in the country. And I think right now, last time I checked, they were something around 215 in KenPom for offensive efficiency, which is the lowest it's been in like program history. So like, I can't remember. I've watched UC since 2009, like end of Lance Stevenson, and then you start to get into the SK and Kashmir Wright years. The offense has never really been good. Like, I'm not going to look at Mick Cronin's time in Cincinnati and be like, that's a good offensive coach. Like, he's putting up points. But the offense was always good enough to the point where it can complement with a top 15, top 20 defense in the country and then just carry you into the tournament every year. Now the offense is that bad that it's looking like I think they were projected on KenPom, and I actually picked 20-11 would be their record. And I think that was on your show when I first picked that, when you asked me for kind of a record prediction. I think they're already projected to go 15-16 after the first 7 games of the season. So you look at their Big 12 schedule, the gauntlets that they have to go through. They opened with Houston. They've got a couple decently tough road games. So yeah, all that to say, my confidence in UC beating Xavier, especially after the Santa Clara game, was like, okay, like he's finally going to go into Cintas and get a win. And then 3 games go by and it's like, what's the spread going to be? Is it going to be -8.5 for Xavier? Because you're going to go in there with that tough of an offense, or that like bad of an offense in a tough road environment. And I mean, if we're just being honest, with a roster who a lot of people don't understand the rivalry, like the carryover has been Day Thomas, Tyler McKinley, and Halvin Zella. So Tyler McKinley knows because he's from Cincinnati. Day Thomas knows because he's played in the game twice, one at Cintas, one at Fifth Third. But then the rest of these guys kind of have to get acclimated. So if it's a rough start and Xavier can get out to a 10, 12-point lead, it's going to be really tough for UC to make up the ground.
Yeah, I think you make a great point about understanding the game. And you look at Xavier's side, there's no retention from last year. Now, Roddy Anderson talked about it after the game on Monday against St. Francis, where he said, look, I didn't even play in the shootout last year at Cincinnati, but I was a walk-on, or I was a red shirt. I was there, and you could still feel the energy in the building. It helps you appreciate what it is. He hadn't seen one at Cintas yet. Then you have a player like Isaiah Walker, whose dad Tyrese played at Xavier back in the early 90s. So he certainly grew up around Xavier and understands what the game means, played at Wyoming High School. He knows what it means, to your point about McKinley. but this is by and large a group of guys on both sides who are going to walk into that building on Friday night. And that's where now all of a sudden, if you're Xavier, having played as relatively well as you have played in the last couple of weeks, being a home team, now it's wide open.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't even know. I'm curious what you think about kind of where this rivalry stands from just a hype and kind of.
Oh, are you about to say it lost its luster? Are you about to do it? I did not think that was where this was going to go. Are you going to drop the L word?
Luster. Yeah, I mean, if we're being honest, I haven't. Like, I've been covering the games for the past 3 years, and I was more excited for these games in 2016, 2017, 2018 when I was just a UC fan just watching it. And now it's more like, okay, like I can't even say what's Xavier's like tournament. How often have they made the tournament in the last 5 years?
They made it last year in 24, and then they made it in 25, the 24-25 season this past season, and then in 23 they went to the Sweet 16. But that's their first tournament since they were the 1 seed in 18.
So I mean, it's like a perfect storm of this new era of college basketball when like you're not carrying over rosters. Basically, you're not carrying over guys on both teams that can hate each other more and kind of give that fuel. And then it's also like struggles for both programs. And like, because a lot of these games, it was 2 ranked teams. And it's like one of the best games in college basketball on that day. And I don't know. I said the L word. You weren't expecting it, but I dropped it. Dropped it early too. 6 minutes.
You did. You did. You caught me a little off guard. I think, the way I look at it this year, Keegan, with the way that both of these teams are going into it, there was a tweet, I think it was from Viva La Cats, of both. It was from last night. We're recording this on Tuesday night. From last night's games, where it was a picture of the crowds at Fifth Third and at Cinta, and both arenas, if we're just calling it like it is, empty. Both arenas this year have been not great attendance. You know, and I know Xavier hasn't played a high major team at home yet. They've all been bye games so far. So there is that aspect of it. And for Cincinnati, they played Dayton at home, but it's been a lot of bye games as well. Yeah. They went down to Heritage and played Louisville, but still it's not in your home arena at Fifth Third, 3 miles away, but it's different. And I do think Friday is going to be, that's where I think the home court advantage, because it's going to be sold out. It's going to be a rocking environment no matter what goes on. But it does feel different than the years when you think back to, of course, Chris Mack and Mick Cronin and, JP McCura and Trayvon Blewett and the whole deal of, both and how good both teams were at that time. It doesn't, though, in my mind, take away from what it's going to be on. And I like that they're playing it on Friday, because this Saturday, the 6th, the schedule on both the basketball and the college football side is insane. So to put it on Friday night on national television on TNT, I think that's a great move for the rivalry. I think TNT's done a great job with their production coverage of everything. But yeah, Keegan, I think I'm not going to say it's lost its luster. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I'm not going to let you put me in a hole there. But it's definitely, you can't deny that it does feel a little different just because there's so much roster turnover. The guys there's not the built up, pent up emotion over the years of playing each other 3 times, 4 times back and forth. A lot of these guys are playing each other for the first time.
Yeah. And there is a part of it, now that I think about it, where like when I was growing up, I was going to watch these games, and I was like, I get to watch like one of my favorite players in Gary Clark play or Sean Kilpatrick play. And I would think, okay, we get this guy. He's really good. I get to watch him for 4 years. And there's just that kind of interrelationship you build with those players. And that really is not happening as much now. Like I think the majority of the UC fan base would say, I'm excited to watch Day Thomas play. Like, he plays really, really hard.
Agreed.
Tyler McKinley's the same because he's a hometown kid, but it was up and down the roster for so long, like 6-7 guys that you're really, really proud to root for. Not saying they're not proud to root for these guys now, but it's just you're less familiar with them because they're here for 1 year and then they either transfer or they go to the NBA, which obviously happens way less. But you don't really know about them. You know the players that they've been at their other schools. You know why the coach brought them in and thinks they can help, but that little feeling just isn't there as much.
So to me, I think the game changer here is Baba Miller, and a big question mark going into the week was, is he going to be able to play? Plays last night. Kind of a weird first half, 7.7 turnovers, doesn't turn the ball over in the second half, looks much better. I even with the turnovers, at least getting out there and playing at full speed, to see him do that in the first half was encouraging. Yeah, you obviously don't want to turn the ball over 7 times, but he's out there playing, in a game full speed, not just practicing leading up to Friday. And to me, he's a difference maker in a game like this, because I don't know if either one of these teams going into the year, you could have pinned them as a threat from three. But all of a sudden now, both of these teams have relied on the three probably too much, and for my liking, for both sides. Now, I watch every UC game. I watch every Xavier game. And when I watch both teams, I still don't think to myself, oh, Xavier's a three. Like Xavier, yeah, they shoot threes. Or Cincinnati, yeah, they shoot threes. Then all of a sudden, Cincinnati makes 16 last night. Xavier's made 16 in a season twice now for the first time in like 16 years, 17 years. All right, I guess that's kind of who you are. But for me, and I don't know if it was you, Keegan, who wrote this. You may have last night after the game. But Cincinnati has the positional size with Sean Abayev and with Baba and with Mustafa Cham to where if they can just get the ball around the rim, Xavier has had a ton of trouble this year in the paint.
Yeah, and the concerning thing for UC there is just kind of how inconsistent Mustafa Cham has been down low. Like he had a what's the Snell guy in the NBA, the line meme, Tony Snell. He had that Tony Snell meme of like 21 minutes and he had 0 points.
Yeah.
0 for 1 from the field.
Yeah.
He had 3 rebounds and he had 4 blocks. So that's good to see him doing what he's probably best at. But just how inconsistent he's been from a field goal percentage perspective, down low and around the hoop, it makes you think about what the offense could look like with Jalen Haynes. Not to say that he would fix all the problems by any means, because there seems to be some deep-rooted problems with the offense. But how much kind of relief he could just offer Sham and not put so much pressure on him. But yeah, I think you mentioned the three-point shooting. I would have never thought that Day Thomas would make 40% of his threes for 2 straight years, but he's well on his way to doing that. Like, he came to UC as a defensive stopper, like just a gritty blue-collar JUCO kid, undersized, didn't have any offers at a high school. And now he's becoming one of the most reliable offensive weapons. And when you look at what could this game come down to, it could come down to Kirk Kriisa like making 4 threes, which he's had a lot of trouble doing so far. He hit 20 last night for the first time since February or March of 2024. So he's struggled mightily offensively this year. And I mean, UK fans and Arizona fans and West Virginia fans will tell you, like, yeah, it's a roller coaster watching that kid play basketball. But he's doing a decent job facilitating the offense. He's had some errant passes, but UC is basically game in and game out. They're a bad shooting night away from losing to anyone. And if they had had a bad shooting night against Tarleton State, they would have probably lost that game with Tarleton State not having Dior Johnson and 6 other players. 61% of their offense was missing, and they probably would have lost if they didn't have a good shooting night. So,
yeah, after the first week of the season where Xavier scrapes by Marist, they scrape by Lemoyne, and then get blown out by Santa Clara, you're thinking to yourself, okay, Cincinnati beats Dayton. You already mentioned this. The outlook of this game was entirely different than where Xavier and the coaching staff have gone back to the drawing board. They've pretty much scraped everything. They've been willing to make some big adjustments. They've moved all right to the point. They've moved Jovan Milicevic into the middle to play the 5. It's not a great defensive lineup, but it's a really good offensive lineup. And they've been willing to make these big changes this year that we really haven't seen from Xavier over the last I mean, multiple coaches. You go back a long ways to where for Xavier, it's always been, a program mentality in one, we're going to play the pack line defense, whatever kind of offensive system we run, we're just going to get better at it. We're not going to be malleable to the talent that we have. We're just going to mold that talent into our system, where I think Richard Pitino has gone the opposite way, and it's worked really well for Xavier. They've become fun to watch. My concern going into Friday is that Georgia is a decent team, not a great team. Mm-hmm. West Virginia's a decent team, not a great team. I guess you could kind of say the same thing about Cincinnati, a decent team, yes, not a great team, yes, but they're better. They're better than 154 in the net where they debuted yesterday, right? They're a much better team than that. Offensively, if they don't make shots, you're going to say the same thing about Xavier. It's like, who can go out there and make 15 threes, which Keegan is crazy. I mean, if you and I had been doing this, previewing the shootout before the season, there's no way either one of us would have come to what we're saying right now on Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing I'll say about UC from that standpoint is they've got the guys that are willing to shoot a ton of those threes. Like against Louisville, I think Sean Abayev was 1 for 5 from 3 in like 4 minutes. Like by the under 16 timeout, he had already taken 5 threes. And he's been super inconsistent as well. And the coaching staff is basically just trying to infuse so much confidence into him. But then, like I said, Kirk Kriisa will take a ton of threes. Dede Thomas will take a ton of threes. So yeah, I don't know what they're really going to do. I think Baba was pressing a lot in the first half because he saw the struggles against Eastern Michigan and then just said, okay, I'm going to take over and try to run the offense myself. And it ended up not working out great. So I really, like, I've been asked so much about the basketball team before the season. Now I have no idea what to think. Like they could make 17, 18 threes. They could make 3 out of 40. That could happen. They could play really, really good defense, and then they could have a horrible effort. And then Wes Miller is really, really mad after the game and kind of, again, like last year, pushing them and saying, I didn't think I have to like motivate guys to play when the lights come on. So yeah, it's this is going to be a weird one. And I really, really do think whoever gets out to that early, like 10-point lead is probably just going to end up riding this game to victory.
2 more questions for you before I let you go. First one, I think on Cincinnati's side, you brought him up, Kirk Kriisa. On Xavier's side, it's all right. 2 guys that are very emotionally invested in what they do on the court and could be a lot of fun to watch and be like a spark plug in a game like this.
Yeah.
2 guys that it feels like live for the rivalry moment. You already saw it in Kerr's post-game interview with Kelsey last night after the game. And All Right was very political in the way he was answering questions after the St. Francis game, but he's fired up for a game like this. Is there anybody, talk to me about Kerr in a game like this, but also maybe is there somebody that is flying under the radar or that we're not talking about enough?
You just mean from like a talent and how he can contribute perspective?
Like going into a rivalry game, maybe that you're expecting. Like if you were to tell me that Kirk Kriisa, who has been, if you followed this guy's college career, has been a roller coaster of a college career all over the country. But if we were sitting there in a post-game press conference and you and I are sitting there and Kirk Kriisa he made 6 threes and he was the reason UC won, I'd be like, yeah, well, in a rivalry game like this, kind of doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Kirk Kriisa, when he committed to Cincinnati, a lot of people are like, why did Wes Miller even do that? Like, why would you bring this guy in? And then I remember after the Big 12 tournament, Wes said, like, there's a certain level of physicality that we need in the Big 12 to kind of compete. And then you see that video of Kirk Kriisa getting in Luka's face over in that game in Europe. You're like, okay, that's why he brought him in to get in people's face and like be willing to punch someone during practice, because that was something that was missing on this team for so long. From a under the radar standpoint, I don't think it's under the radar at all, but it's just someone else is Sincere Harris. Like this guy, me and Chad talk about it a lot. And I wrote a story on him over the summer and I talked to his dad. And his dad told me that when he was at Illinois, the cornerbacks coach for Illinois football tried to come out and get Sincere to play corner for the Fighting Illini. And you watch him play, and you're like, hold on, 6'3", lanky, super fast, and moves like laterally at an elite level. Like, I'm describing Sauce Gardner. Like, this guy can actually play corner.
Yeah.
So, but he's just another guy who, like, he was cussing out Wes last year at West Virginia when he was playing for West Virginia, because he came on a visit out of high school, was ready to commit, and Wes said, I haven't seen enough of you yet. I don't want you. I'm not going to give you a committable offer. Takes a visit to Illinois and commits. And then when he transfers to West Virginia, he's staring down Wes and Andre Morgan during the game and like yelling at him when he gets like multiple steals. So he's the guy that it's going to be a competitive game for him. He's going to want to light a fire under some guys. And I think if there's three guys you can absolutely count on showing up from a physicality standpoint and from like that showing up from a rivalry game, Day Thomas, Sincere Harris, Kirk Risa, and then Tyler McKinley, because he's a Cincinnati guy who knows all about this game.
Yeah, I've really liked Day Thomas seems to be the guy that steadies the ship. I mean, he always just makes the right pass, makes the right play. He scores enough. I wish for Day-Day's sake there was more around him, but he's a great player. Yeah,
absolutely. And like I said before, he's like just a blue-collar JUCO kid who's turned into maybe one of the best players on the team. Like, I'm still going to give that to Baba Miller just because of like his physically imposing size and what he can do all over the court. But in terms of a linchpin and like the most important guy, it's absolutely Day Thomas. Like, this team has gone as he has gone, and he's really, really emerged as a vocal leader. And he's another guy to light a fire during this game, because he actually got ejected against Tarleton State last night for mouthing off. And I think he's actually picked up a couple technicals so far this season. So he's someone to watch.
Real quick, tell me about Baba Miller and what he brings to this game, and obviously expecting to be fully healthy, but to me, a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. What he can do from three is very impressive, and you've seen it in his former stops. He hasn't really done it this year that much. I think there was a play earlier this year where he took a pass at like half court, took 2 steps, 1 dribble, and ended up like dunking it. Like, it's one of those plays where it's like, I've seen Giannis do that, and I've seen like Victor Wembanyama do that. There's not a lot of guys on earth that can even make that play. So just see where he is at from a rim perspective and where he's at offensively around there. But he's also been a really good rebounder. He's been a double-double machine, even though he doesn't really have the most physical game. Like, he's not going to get in there and throw elbows and try to run somebody over, but he plays with a lot of effort. And obviously his physical tools, put him above the rest. So, I'd like to see him make 3 or 4 threes, though, because he's probably going to take them and try to infuse some energy. But he's struggled from beyond the arc so far.
All right, last question. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. You want to make a prediction? Okay. You want to get some clicks here, sure. Keegan? You don't have to if you don't want to. Uh-oh. You don't have to.
I've made a lot of Cincinnati people mad over the past week, so let's see. I think Xavier is going to win 64-60. Ultimately, I just think, and I think it's going to be a thing where they're ahead by 7 or 8 late, and then UC kind of makes a run and sees that they can have a couple miracle plays happen to the point where they can maybe pull off a win. Yeah. But the defense has always been there. I just don't know if the offense is going to be able to react to such a hostile environment, because they played well at Heritage Bank against Louisville. But like, that's not a hostile environment by any means. And I think that was like a 60-40 Louisville crowd. So this is a prove it game for me, for this Cincinnati team. If they can win, if they can go in there and win, that at the very least proves that like they can win a tough game that they probably shouldn't have, and they can kind of respond to adversity and respond to struggling. But I just haven't seen it yet that I can say that they're going to go into that tough of an environment and make the necessary plays to win.
All right, Keegan, I appreciate you. Tell the people where they can read your stuff.
Yep. Follow K Nickoson 42 on X, and then make sure you check out Bearcat Journal. We'll have a ton of signing day stuff up for the football team, and then obviously previews and stories about X after the presser tomorrow.
All right. Appreciate you. I'll see you on Friday.
Thank you.